hey everyone, have you ever gone out to a film and you could kind of tell that the director was doing one thing, was trying to really explore an artistic vision, and then find out later that it wasn't well received?
That's a good point, because there's a lot of movies that really push for an being artsy, and then they get upset when people don't respond well to it.
Yeah, it's a hard line to follow when you're trying to do an artistic project of some sort. How do you do that?
Well, we're going to talk about a few examples today here on the Nerdening. I'm Ollamh.
I'm Outlander.
Welcome back.
So don't tell me how to act or how it should be. All we wanted is to be free. We don't want to be like you. You see, we just act a little crazy, and we're following our heartbeats. We don't want to be like you.
When we were talking about this idea, I was initially a little confused. I was like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Audience expectation in that. So,
I suppose a really good example would be Unbreakable. A movie that was not really well received as far as an audience. I mean, it's picked up a little bit, but a lot of people didn't realize what M. Night Shyamalan was really pushing for, what he was trying to accomplish. They thought, oh, it's a superhero movie, therefore it should follow specific beats, and it wasn't. It didn't meet their expectations.
Yeah, you get the impression you're going to go see a superhero film, which it really was.
Yeah,
but it was. We've kind of been conditioned to believe that superhero films do this and that and that and this.
Yeah,
and it departed from that, which is M. Night Shyamalan style. Try to do something with a twist, you know.
And the thing is this has happened a lot throughout movie history in particular. One of the most critically acclaimed movies of all time.
Critically acclaimed.
Citizen Kane was not a box office success. It was not a hit movie. It was not well received when it was originally released. Now, if you look at IMDb, the box office numbers are through the roof because it regularly shows up in theaters in the box office, so it is still to this day earning box office money.
Yeah, and it's a good movie. I highly recommend it for everyone.
But one of the things is Orson Welles was trying to kind of show that the American dream isn't perfect. Mm-hmm. And people did not want to hear that back in the 40s. They did not want to hear that, well, in order to be successful, you have to really focus on that success, and you have to shun a certain amount of personal connectedness. You have to shun a certain amount of personal interaction.
You have to make certain sacrifices for that success.
And particularly in the 40s, I mean, the Great Depression wasn't that long ago, and everybody's like, well,
we don't want to think about
that.
We
want the opinion, we want to be shown that the American dream is alive and well, and if you can make it, you can be big.
And mega ants from outer space.
But it was just one of those things where it's like, it's amazing to think that movie didn't do well and, was not well received because of the message and because of what the director wanted to do with it.
Mm-hmm. I would say that this was an artistic vision that was well executed, just left everybody going, huh? Was a movie called Branded. And it was about a guy who had a family, the family leaves him, or something. I can't remember exactly what happens to the family, but he's an ad executive. And he has this superpower, some weird ethereal astral star being or something, a constellation speaks to him, brings upon him a red cow, which is some mythology thing, and then he is capable to see the way ads are influencing people.
Okay.
In the movie. And, watching the trailer for it, you think it's going to be some kind of weird monster film or something where ads are running rampant, which kind of happens. But it was, I did not walk into that thinking that I was going to be seeing a movie about an ad executive and his ad superpowers. That's not what I thought was happening.
That has got to be one of the worst superpowers ever. You have the superpower of advertising.
Well, there was a really cool part in that movie that I did appreciate, that I do remember to this day, where because it's in Russia, they were talking about Russian propaganda and the way that it was designed and all the blocky forms and stuff that we see emulated in a lot of things today for that. So he was talking about that propaganda and how it was able to influence that Russian Revolution. It was Lenin's revolution. So it was very, that was a cool piece of history. Probably the only thing of real note besides the CGI from the movie. But the story itself felt like 3 stories jammed together. And by the end of the movie, we were like, what the hell did I just watch?
That seems to be that seems to be a hallmark for the artsy movies. Another one from history is Blade Runner. This one, the entire box office gross was the same as the budget, which technically makes it a flop because half of the box office gross goes to the theaters. And it was hated by critics. Actually, Roger Ebert originally hated that movie. He hated the movie.
He tore it apart.
And after it came out on VHS and then on DVD, he kind of went back to it and he actually changed his mind on the movie. It was upon rewatching, he's like, no, it actually is a well done movie. And it's like, he was more receptive to what they were trying to do with the movie. And there wasn't much like that back then. There wasn't much as far as the, dystopian, futuristic, world where, robots exist and...
I think, didn't Ebert also initially not like Star Wars?
I think so. I know
saw
one
an interview somewhere where he was like...
I remember that, Siskel and Ebert talked about it, and one of them liked it, one of them thought it was just... It was a kiddies.
Watch this.
Well, it was a
for
kiddies movie.
Film.
Yeah, it was a kiddies film. And that's so and this is kind of a weird topic because there's so many people that want to do a movie their way. They want their movie done their way. But they also want the box office draw, and they want that box office money, and they want it to be a highly successful movie. And very rarely do those two worlds meet.
Yeah. I don't understand why that's so hard. It's because studios put a lot of money up for films, and they want to make sure their investment is good. But
and the creators want that money. They want that money. They need that money to make their dream come true the way they envision it.
Yeah.
So they need that money. They get that money from the studios, and you got to make that money back if you want to make another movie. So,
and the last thing an investor wants to hear is, you don't get to tell me what to do with your money.
Yeah.
That's
a big problem with a lot of people, is they think that, I want you to put up the money, but I want it my movie. I don't want anybody to use firearms in my movies.
It's a play on faith. Like, you have to have a lot of faith in the artistic ability and direction of your director and your writer and the story and everybody else working on the film. So it's not just the initial creator involved, but it's the symphony of everything that comes together.
But when you're looking at the artistic styling and stuff like that, it is very much the initial creator. They have an idea for a story, and they want it just like their idea. They don't want to add in a kid-friendly character to appeal to children.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to make the money. Parents being able to take their kids to a show is going to be important for the overall success of the movie.
Yeah. Well, I think back when the X-Men movies started coming out. And I knew right away that it was going to be, PG, PG-13. I'm glad they weren't G-rated. But
they couldn't have done them. They couldn't have done them.
G-rated. But what I really wanted to see, what I really, me being an adult now and that, what I was really hoping for was R-rated X-Men movies. Like, let's come on, we're all adults now, right? But it's still kind of a kid property. It's comic book property.
Let's see. When did those start coming out?
Oh God, that was 2001, 2002. It had to be 2000 or 2001. The first X-Men movie came out.
Okay, so now think about all the people that we know that were teenagers.
Well, back then.
Yep, that were teenagers back then. All of those people. That's potential audience. That's people who actually did go and see him in the theater that would not have been able to see him in the theater if it had been R-rated. So you are taking a really good sized chunk of your comic book audience and saying, this movie's not for you.
I feel like a lot of the production world thought you couldn't make an R-rated comic book movie, so I'm very happy for the success of Deadpool.
Well, that's the thing, is it had to be... They made R-rated comic book movies before.
Wasn't the Punisher?
Blade.
Blade. Yeah, Blade. Dolph Lundgren's Punisher.
The difference is making it successful.
Yeah.
Blade was nowhere near as successful as Deadpool. Deadpool just blew it out of the water.
Oh well, it blew pretty much every other comic book movie out of the water.
Yeah.
For production value versus revenue.
Well, it's not just production value versus revenue. It's really the audience that went and saw it. It was very well promoted. It was very well done.
It was highly expected.
And it wasn't, and I don't think it quite fits here because of the fact that it wasn't somebody saying, no, don't mess with my artistic ideas for this world. Comparing a good comparison between artistic idea versus audience expectations as far as Deadpool would be X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh God.
That was very much, we're doing our own thing. We have our own story. We have our own idea.
And it's going to be great. It'll be fabulous.
We are doing our thing. Never mind the fact that anybody could have told you that the audience is going to be pissed off at it.
Because that was not...
That was a Deadpool.
In what alternate universe was that Wolverine's origin story?
What? Never mind Wolverine's origin story. Look at Deadpool. Look at Wade Wilson. He's the one character that's in both of these movies. Mm-hmm. And in X-Men Origins Wolverine, or Wolverine's origin movie, they had this great artistic idea for what to do with Deadpool, and they fucked it up.
Yeah, people wanted to see Deadpool, not this Muto.
Yeah. And it's like you took the biggest thing that he is known for, and you just kind of like pissed all over it.
Yeah, Fox is weird like that. I'm still burning over Firefly.
But another one. Going back to M. Night Shyamalan, another one that was really poorly done as far as artistic idea versus audience expectations was The Last Airbender. M. Night Shyamalan wanted to do his thing, and he wanted to do it his way. I wanted it to
be so good. It was going to be so good.
And then it was just kind of like, the audience expectation obviously is going to be, we want to see the cartoon with real live actors.
Yeah, like,
is that not that hard to understand?
And in that, the viewers, like, no matter what, when you take a property like a pre-existing property and just you're transferring medium or something like that, viewers generally will accept there's going to be some differences. The story might move a little bit differently. It might not be a story that exists in the universe you're familiar with, or something like that. But to take the exact story and then, to coin a phrase, fuck it up like that, oh my God. I could have made a better movie.
Now, looking at taking pre-existing stories and moving on, and this is almost kind of going from doing it artistically, but still knowing what the audience wants. You have to look at Tim Burton, especially his stuff lately, with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Alice in Wonderland, the second Alice in Wonderland.
I'm surprised they made a second one.
I am too, because the first one, he changes the stories a lot. He really does. He changes the stories a lot. And he knows what works and what his audience expects from him.
Well,
and his audience expects one very simple thing. Very simple. Johnny Depp.
Well,
Put Johnny Depp in it, and that's what they expect from Tim. That's what they expect from the man.
I love that joke we saw online. It was like if Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter ever got divorced, who would get Johnny Depp?
But it's one of those things where people expect Johnny Depp and they expect a lot of him. So, and I don't think people really realize how much Tim Burton messes with the property he gets handed. He gets handed Alice in Wonderland. He goes to Johnny Depp and says, "What character do you want to play?" "Oh, you want to play the Mad Hatter?" "Okay, no problem."
You want to look like Madonna from one of her videos?
No.
Okay.
Not even that. Not even that. It is the fact that the Mad Hatter shows up for a very short period in the story.
Mm-hmm.
He is only at the tea party. He cannot physically leave the tea party.
In the original story, yeah.
So they have to take it and they have to say, "Okay, well, you want to be the Mad Hatter. Okay, we have to now make a story where the Mad Hatter is almost the main frickin' character."
Yeah.
Same thing with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is supposed to be about Charlie, not Willy Wonka's daddy issues. And that's what it is. There's so many flashbacks to Willy Wonka's childhood and him dealing with his father and never being able to have candy because his daddy was a dentist and he didn't want him to rot his teeth out.
Just because Johnny Depp was involved in the film.
Yeah, because Johnny Depp was involved and Johnny Depp was playing the character of Willy Wonka. Look at The Lone Ranger. Hey, it's no longer, it's not even the Lone Ranger, it's all about Tonto, because Tonto is Johnny Depp. But he knows what works. He knows what people are going to want to see. People want to see his movie, his idea, with Johnny Depp in it. That's what keeps him in the box. So he can be as artistic as he wants with the story, as long as Johnny Depp is in the lead. Now, some artistic ideas, you can do artistic ideas well, and to the point where the audience wants that, the audience likes that, and the audience will actually ignore the fact that they are being told the exact same story again for the 20th time.
Yeah, as long as it's done well, they're happy to see it.
Well, it doesn't even have to be done well. It looks pretty. Think about Avatar.
Okay. Avatar. Oh, man.
This is Fern Gully. This is Dances with Wolves. This is Pocahontas. This is so many different stories that we have seen this story time and time and time again. But it was done artistically. It looked pretty. So people ignored the fact that they were being spoon-fed the same story for the 21st time.
In part of that artistic thing, that something I'd read about the way Avatar was made was that it was actually filmed, written, and designed in such a way to elicit your emotions all the way through. So, that's what filming is, but I mean, they brought people in to specifically make a movie that you would be a little depressed seeing the end of. Yeah, when it was over, you'd be a little depressed at the end. And, I
don't know anybody who was
that would leave you wanting more kind of thing, which is what you want. my understanding is they actually brought in psychologists for the editing of the film.
I'm not so sure that worked out in their favor. Because, like I said, I don't know anybody that was like, that had that sense of longing. It was just kind of like, that was the movie. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing about psychology is you're only going to hit a percentage of the population, of course. Yeah. If you're making a static product, you're only going to affect so many people a certain way, the way you expect.
Yeah, and it's, in all honesty, it's almost never enough of the population to really warrant the expenditure.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money did they spend on trying to make sure that you had that specific, those certain feelings? That's not what people talked about. They talked about the beautiful scenery, the floating bits of land, the
not pterodactyls,
the hair boning,
yeah.
Hey, all the weird stuff that was just really the artsy stuff, and that's what sold that movie. Was it looked pretty, and that was about it. But it's an example of the audience. If it were just another Western, another Western or something that wasn't as visually stunning, telling that story yet again, I think that no, it wouldn't have been nearly as
yeah.
And a lot of people, and interestingly enough, this actually kind of brings up another point, is the fact that it spawned the whole re-emergence of the 3D.
It's a gimmick. 3D is a gimmick.
Look at Clash of the Titans. They postponed it. I think it was postponed. Either that or it was actually released and then pulled so that they could brush it up and get 3D, do 3D. And it was, well, that's what the audience wants. That's just the artistic thing that the audience wants.
Too bad they had a crap film to do it for.
Yeah, it's like, no, if you do it in 3D, if you plan for it to be in 3D, fine.
Yeah.
But
if you're upscaling to 3D after the fact, it's a terrible effect. It's just as cheesy as the 50s films. So,
yeah.
There you go.
Like I said before, it's weird because a lot of people want their ideas out in a specific way, and they want the massive audiences and stuff like that. And yeah, unless you're really lucky, you're gonna wind up with, I mean, an example of, I just thought of an example of artistic idea that just failed. Just failed on every single level.
Okay.
That's The Room.
Oh God, that is the perfect example of a movie that failed on artistic. Yeah.
Everybody laughs at it, but it's one of those movies that I can sit there and I can look at it. The reason I will never watch it again is because I know exactly the story that he's trying to tell. I've been through that. Yeah. I had the wife that was unfaithful and tried, and just everything blew up, and it was almost kind of like I was the bad, and at the end I was the bad guy.
It's a story that everybody's pretty. If it hadn't happened to you, somebody it happened to.
Yeah, and it's like I totally see what he was trying to do, the story he was trying to tell, and how it was done very poorly. And it amazes me how many people just sit there and laugh at that movie without trying to see it. And it's like, and maybe it's because I look at movies differently, but it's like, yeah, I totally get where he's coming from. I totally get what he's trying to say. Yeah,
don't
he did
remind
it
me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen it once and I walked out of there and I'm just, everybody's chuckling and trying to cheer me, oh, wasn't that a great movie? I'm like,
what was with the spoon?
No, I didn't give a fuck about the spoon. I was sitting there saying, I know exactly where he's coming from. I know exactly what the character was going through and stuff like that. And Oh, I trashed my apartment at one point because of a situation almost exactly like that. And it was just, but it's one of those things where it's like, that wasn't what the audience was wanting. They weren't expecting a drama. They weren't expecting, a very serious movie. And he didn't really shoot it as a very serious movie. It was, all the weird laughing and the joking and the playfulness and stuff like that.
The kind of extended nude scenes was a little awkward too.
Tommy Wiseau is one of those guys that should never be nude. Period. Never. I don't... No.
Well, I mean, he's got a fit body, but, you know when to cut the camera, dude.
I don't care if he's taking a shower. He needs to have, a bathing costume on. He actually needs to use it for what it's intended. No. So, what do you think about the whole artistic idea versus audience anticipation and expectations? Which do you prefer? Do you think that the audience should dictate what a movie should be about and what a movie should be shot like? Or do you think that, yes, there is a place for the artsy stuff, but at the same, and do you think that somebody who does an artsy video really should have any expectation of making a normal profit?
In the comments too, I'd like to hear, give us an example of movies that, you feel failed your expectations. Obviously we can't cover them all, but also, how willing are you to take a chance on a movie for somebody's artistic vision? What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to risk to see whether or not they got it together in time by the time they got to the cutting room floor and by the time they got it out of the cutting room?
Yeah.
So,
next week, I think we're going to kind of do a segue with this one into, we already mentioned one of them that's going to be brought up next week, but, directors that failed. Directors that were riding high at some point and then just
kind of fell on their own hubris.
Just got to the point where nobody would tell them no, and they were determined they could walk on their own, and they just slammed their face into the concrete.
And that'll ruin audience expectation in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So that's going to be our topic for next week. If you have any ideas or any specific individuals you would like us to make sure to bring up, by all means, leave a comment down below, send us a tweet, leave us a comment on our Facebook page. We're always willing to talk about this stuff. I mean, this is what we do on the off hours, so.
Yeah, we just finally put a camera and some microphones up, and here we are.
No. As always, thank you very much for watching. And stay tuned for more from the America Machine.
And from Ollamh Productions.
Cheerio.
We'll see you next time.
You should meet me and my friends. Even though we got no money, we show ourselves funny. Yeah, everything's better with them. We're just
Whoa. Let's get out of here. Video on the show. You kidnapped her. That's a crime. She can go to the police and have you arrested.